Alright, today we have the new WindTunnel Tempo bagged vacuum. Brand new, hot off the presses. And we're going to vacuum the living room with it. Give it a first run. So I've just unboxed it, and we're going to see how it performs. So it's completely stock, it's completely unused. I've done nothing to use it, haven't even turned it on yet. And the only thing that I did do is I wanted to see if my Bissell Style 7 Clean Fairy HEPA bags fit in here with this bag dock system, and it appears that it does. You just got to kind of squish it in there because the collar is the right size. The actual cardboard isn't as long as the original, so you can see it doesn't fill up the whole space where the cardboard goes, but it is a little bit thicker, so the actual cardboard's a little bit thicker, so it actually stays in there pretty securely. So it seems like that it does work. Pops on just fine. Doesn't appear to be messed up in any way in the dock. So it seems to me like the worst case scenario with using these bags, as long as you line them up properly, it seems like the worst case scenario is that when you press that red button to eject the bag, it might be so tight in the dock that you might have to actually manually pull the bag out. But we'll see how that goes. I am going to try to fill up a whole bag on this thing, and we'll see if that actually is the case or not, or if it will drop out as normal. Or if maybe the weight of the bag will start to pull it down, and then once you undo the latch, because obviously it's on the bag mount, so even if it slid down a little bit, I'm sure it would still stay in place and not leak or anything. But we'll see. So, yeah. Let's see how this sounds. I presume this is going to sound just like my Bagless T-Series, only maybe a little bit quieter because there's no cyclone. But we're about to find out. according to the manual, the proper way to do this is turn the machine off. And I think this says... Okay, it doesn't say right on here, but I believe the correct etiquette for this very interesting clutch, because I've seen these clutches fail on these machines all the time, on the bagless ones, so I'm really hesitant, but I'm hoping, given this is new, so no one's had the chance to abuse it, if I turn it off and don't just move the belt back and forth while it's hot, I'm hoping that'll both make the belt last longer and hopefully not make the clutch destroy itself. So we're going to grab this hose, because there's a couple little edge cleaning on this isn't the best, at least not on the edge that's furthest from the belt. So I'm going to grab extension wand and crevice tool. We're going to do some edges. And I see there's a lot of dust on the inside of the hose here. You can see that? There's a lot of dust inside there. Of course, it's hard to see. But, good amount of dust. Which, of course, means that's now going to get on the outside of this wand, because you have to put the wand inside the hose, which I don't like. I think the bristles do that, too. So, yeah. If I was actually vacuuming this, I'd wipe that down before I stick the attachments on. But I'm weird like that. Okay, now, let's try this, and clutch should be engaged, so the brush should not turn on when I turn this on, so we're going to try this now. Oh! So, it seems like this little kink in the hose seems to not be hurting the machine too much. It seems to be doing just fine. And yeah, so clutch appears to be working. Machine isn't that loud. Like I predicted, it's a little bit quieter than the bagless, since there's obviously no whirring sound of a cyclone. But, you know, it's about the same. It's not a reason to buy one over the other. It's, you know, it's very minuscule. You'd only really notice it if you were listening to them side by side, if you're a crazy person like me. So, Turbo Brush. Okay, first off, so since we most recently did the attachments, I'll talk about my first impressions of the attachments. Crevice tool, obviously extension wall, there's nothing to say about that. Crevice tool restricts a good amount of airflow. Obviously, crevice tools usually do that, but I like crevice tool, I like the old Dyson crevice tools where they had a bleed valve built into the crevice tool where you could easily let the air pass through, still pick up what you needed to get to, and it wouldn't just suck down onto the machine and make it hard to move the tool, or in some cases even yank the vacuum over. Now, thankfully, on this machine, the hose is, even though it is like a mid-mounted hose, first off, even at this point, it's still lower mounted than it is on a lot of the earlier wind tunnels, which I really like. And it's pointing towards the bottom, not towards the top, like the old wind tunnels, which again is a really good feature. But the fact that it also has this hook, that you can still stretch this part of the hose out so you don't lose that much reach, and then that makes it a bottom mounted hose, it's very, very smart. That is a great idea. I really like that. Also, whether it's because of that or because of something else, this hose, when you're using it normally, it doesn't contract on itself that badly. It still does it a little bit, but it's very minuscule. And there isn't much to complain about in terms of the usability of the hose. It has a good amount of stretch to it. I haven't checked to see if it'll go upstairs or anything like that. I doubt it will. The old Elite Rewind from 2006 that I have goes up almost to the top of the stairs. My staircase is about 12 steps. That Elite Rewind will go up to 10. The Dyson also goes up to about 10, the DC41. And I haven't tried the newest Ball Total Clean that I just got, but it's the same thing. There shouldn't be any difference in the hose. It's the exact same hose on the exact same vacuum, basically. So it'll be interesting to see how well this goes upstairs. But the fact that you have the brush roll shut off and it actually works. Now, since this machine is brand new, I can truly appreciate this brush roll shut off, because a lot of the brush roll shut offs that I found on these wind tunnels are dying or broken, or the belt is messed up and you can't put a new belt on properly because the clutch is messed up. It's a pain, it's a hassle, and I don't like that. So, but when this clutch is working, and it seems like the key is to just let it turn off and make sure it's upright before you change that. Like, obviously now it's been off for a while, I can put this back on the carpet mode. I think that will be the key to make this thing last. So I'm hoping that if I do that practice with it, and I tell my fiance to be very vigilant about that, I tell him, like, hey, when you use this, make sure that this is off before you switch it, or just don't bother and just use the DreamTech on floors like we've been doing anyways, then that shouldn't be an issue. Now, even though I have a good number of these lights off, I only have these two lamps that I have, the two lamps that I have mounted on the wall. Those are the only lamps that are on, and then obviously the TV. All the other lights in this room are off. And this headlight does not seem very bright or very effective. Now, what I'm going to do is, once I'm done talking about this, I'm going to run it one more time with the lights off and see how good the headlight does, because I'm very curious to check that out. And don't get me wrong, I would rather have a mediocre headlight than no headlight at all. And so yeah. Now, some of the newest Hoovers that just came out, the headlight is actually in this little strip in the front, which is a great idea. I remember, in fact, seeing a review where someone modded one of these things and put an LED strip in this clear bumper right here and made the whole thing light up. It was the coolest thing ever. And they like rewired it and like modded the thing, which was really cool to see. And I will say, out of the gate, even though this is very early, if you are one of those people who is a big fan of the older wind tunnels, and you are a fan of the older Bissell Power Glides, like the Power Glide Platinum, you know, where you liked having the 12 amp motor, you liked the headlight, you liked the stretch hose, you liked the bag check indicator, you liked the onboard turbo brush that worked good, and you know, you liked the multiple height adjustments, aggressive brush roll, you liked all of that, and you know, maybe you're disappointed with the Bissell Powerlifter Bag Pet because you feel like they lost too many features, and you just really like that style of vacuum, and you're upset because obviously Panasonics aren't around anymore. Kenmore's doing a different thing. There's not very many uprights in this style still on the market. I can already say out of the gate, this is a great option. Now, that's not saying a lot because there are so few options left that this is a good enough option to at least consider it. So basically this, the Powerlifter Bag Pet, and the various rebadges of both of these machines is really all there is in the $150, in like the $100 to $150 price range. Now, these are more expensive than the Bissells, and if you get the max version of this, it's even more expensive. Those are like $200. But, you know, this is really all you have. But I do like this so far, I will say. Like I mentioned, the crevice tools leaves a little bit to be desired. I wish there was a suction control on this machine. The one thing that I like about Sharks is they have suction control sliders on the machines. I wish that that was a standard feature on vacuums. It just seems like a no-brainer feature to have, especially with these vacuums nowadays that have a lot of suction. It needs to be like a mandatory feature on Dyson, on Hoover, on all sorts of things. If they, especially on a, oop, I just opened the bag chamber. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, okay, that's a problem. Okay. That's not good. Come on, Hoover. That's ridiculous. So, if they could, because this hose obviously, and the same thing with all the Bissells and a lot of the cheaper machines like this, all the modern Hoovers I think are the same way. You have a hose that is reused for both the tools and that just attaches to the piece that goes to the floor. Like, I get it. It would be kind of out of reach. Like, you would have to kind of go out of your way to do it, but have the option there. Just put a little slider on here. Make it just like the way the Sharks do, where there's a little ring that's solid and you twist it and it opens a valve right here and you can control the suction. And you can't tell me that that has to only be on premium vacuums, because that would cost like, what, 14 cents to implement? And it would solve a lot of the problems of customers returning machines and complaining and bitching because, oh no, it's sucking to my rug, it won't clean this rug, it damaged this rug. A lot of people nowadays are starting to buy these with the clutches because a lot of people are getting hard floors in their homes and only having certain area rugs. And if those area rugs get torn up by their vacuum, they're not going to be happy. And that's why a lot of those customers are fleeing to Shark. And I feel like this is something the rest of the industry needs to actually address because it's a big problem. And you can't just get away with hoping that every single one of those people comes into a vacuum store with $1,000 burning a hole in their pocket, hoping to spend that money on a canister. It's just not feasible. Not for the wide scale that people want it to be, and it's just not going to happen. So I think something like that would really make this even better. Same thing with the Dysons, especially Dyson now. They have way too much suction. Really hard to maneuver those on bare floors nowadays, especially the Kinetic and the newer balls. And I haven't tried this machine on floors yet, obviously, because right now you are witnessing the first time that I'm using this machine. But, you know, it's just one of those things. I know I'm ranting a little bit. It's literally 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just randomly ranting about this because this is all fresh in my mind and I want to get this out there before the actual review that I do on this. And because obviously the last couple months on this channel has been like a revolving door of brand new vacuum cleaners just coming in, and I'm kind of getting like a better feel for what's out there. And I will say that this has already skyrocketed to the top of my list of recommendations. I've been recommending this machine for a long time, so it was only fitting that I finally tried it. And yes, I do have no regrets for my recommendations, but the caveats that I had are still there. You got to treat this clutch nicely. You got to make sure you're using the bag dock system properly, because no matter what people say, it's ridiculous. The idea that this bag dock is less complicated than just simply pushing a bag onto a mount It's just, you know, obviously struggling with the bag and all that is a problem. So actually I'm going to see how this has fared. So, okay. A little bit of dust right there. That's to be expected, I guess. Well, I can tell it got some dust because that did a great job. That whole thing is, this thing has some dust in it for sure. Try not to like get a poof of dust out of it, but yeah, that's doing good. So it got up a good amount of fine dust already, and I am certainly not complaining about that. That's good. So, and the bag fit on there just fine. I guess maybe the gasket could be a little bit too big because it looked like the gasket kind of got some dust on it, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. But like I said, I will see. I will try to fill up this bag just to really get a feel for this machine, because I have a feeling this one's going to stay in my collection. It'll especially stay in my collection if I can get a replacement hose, because this does bother me, the fact that this is kinked. So I may call up Hoover one of these days and see if they'll send me a new hose. And if not, I might just buy one if they're like $10. But, yeah, so that's really cool. And, oh yeah, so turbo brush and the dusting brush. So first off, this is the same kind of dusting brush that Hoover's had for a while, and I've complained about this a number of times. But this actually is a lot better. Even though it looks the same as a lot of the other dusting brushes, the bristles are a lot softer. This actually doesn't work as good as an upholstery brush anymore because it's actually better for dusting. The bristles are a lot softer. They're still kind of coarse. I wouldn't dust anything delicate with this, but they're a lot better. Because on the older vacuums, this brush, the bristles were very stiff. On my older T-Series, the one that's bagless that I have, this brush is way stiffer. In fact, I might even have one of these brushes somewhere where I can, not really show, but I can kind of, you know, you can get the idea the bristles are much stiffer. I thought I had one over here, but I don't know where I placed it. Let me look real quick. Okay, I forgot I had it sitting on this old Hoover. So I don't know if you can tell the way this is designed, but the bristles on this are a lot stiffer. And it's the same brush, but these bristles are a lot stiffer. This is a lot more akin to an upholstery brush. So, in fact, I actually used this brush whenever I tried the Dyson Zorb, which that video will be coming soon, hopefully. And this one, I don't know if you can tell, like the bristles are like a little bit more rounded, but more so they're just softer. It's still not like a night and day difference, but these bristles are stiffer. And these bristles, the one on the new one, are a little bit softer. Now, is this as good as the brush, as the dusting brush that came with my Hoover Elite Rewind Plus? No. Those were very soft bristles. That was an excellent dusting tool, and it's kind of weird how that doesn't come with this. I mean, I get why, because this is an older design, but still, it should be easy to just slap a different dusting brush on this as long as it fits on that mount, because obviously the connector is the same. So, and of course it's mounted pretty low, which isn't the greatest, but you know, what are you going to do? So, you know, that's that. And the turbo brush is pretty good. It's better than any of the Bissell turbo brushes. And like I mentioned, the Powerlifter Bag Pet that this is competing with, this turbo brush wipes the floor with that other turbo brush. That other turbo brush, you put anything but the slightest bit of pressure on it and it stops. This one, the only way it stops is if you leave it in one spot and apply a bunch of pressure. Then it will stop. But even if you apply the same amount of pressure and you're still moving it back and forth like you would if you were actually using it, it doesn't stop. So these ones are some of the best modern turbo brushes that you're going to find on a vacuum in this price range. These turbo brushes are really good. And these are tried and true. Hoover's been using these turbo brushes for, I think, about about 12 years now, if I remember correctly. And it's a good turbo brush. They have some newer ones that are like the Bissell's, where they have that rubbery bristle crap. And I was never really a big fan of that, because the idea is it's supposed to make it easier for the hair to not get tangled, and I have found that it makes no difference at all, at least on the Bissell's. I think the Hoover one, I haven't really tried one of those. But yeah, so same amount of play that a lot of these brushes have, but this one doesn't. You can't really notice it when you're using it. At least I didn't. I'll have to use it more though. And so again, turbo brush is better than the Bissell, so that's good. And again, I shouldn't comment too much on that, because that will be its own separate video comparing the Powerlifter Bagged Pet to the WindTunnel Tempo. But I think it's pretty obvious that at this point which one's gonna win. But yeah, and then of course the extension wand and crevice tool, which I've already lost essentially. But yeah, so not much to say about these. These are better. Just the attachments in general are better than that new Hoover that I tried. Which, that new Hoover is supposed to have a bagged version, and I planned on testing that, since it's the machine that's supposed to essentially replace this. And it's been out of stock. So that's why I finally picked up one of these. I was like, okay, this is a sign that I need to just get this done, buy one of these, and have it. And then, you know, have it to test alongside the new one. So, yeah, that's about that. Sorry if I'm a bit tired, but obviously put it on the high pile setting, as you can see. Does a good job, left good carpet lines, agitation was really good, even with my shoes on. Yes, I know some people, oh, you have shoes on in the house. Just shut up. So, I normally don't have shoes on in the house. I don't even know why my shoes are on, to be honest. I don't remember why I put them on. But, oh yeah, because I ran out to the car to get something, and I just forgot to take my shoes off, because I do that sometimes. Oh well, this carpet's fucked anyways. But, this... What was I going to say? Something about the height adjustment. Oh yeah, so even with the agitation, even with me wearing shoes, I could still feel the agitation in my feet. So, this machine is rated very... I forgot the exact rating got, but this machine is rated positively by the Carpet and Rug Institute. And while the Bissell Powerlifter does do a great job of deep cleaning, especially for what it is, I do think that this probably does better. And, I don't think it's a night and day difference like people are making it seem. People are making it out like the Bissell does horribly and this just does perfect. I don't think that's true, but I will test more just to verify in particular, because my Powerlifter, sure, it is older than this machine, but it's only about a year old at this point, and it's still got less than a year worth of actual usage on it. It has maybe like the equivalent of like 2 months of usage on it at this point. So this is a lot closer to an apples to apples comparison than you would think. So yeah, obviously the bag check indicator works. I'm not in high altitude. I live in central Illinois. There's no real elevation here. I don't live in Colorado or Tennessee or anything like that where there's mountains and stuff. So it's not like I'm the authority to test in that regard. But some of the authorities that do live in higher altitude environments where other bag check indicators and gauges and whatnot will often not work have commented and said that this machine actually does account for that, unlike the older WindTunnels and Power Forces, which is obviously a really good feature. So even if you are in a high altitude place, even if you live in, even if you live in Nashville, or not Nashville, whatever part of Tennessee has the elevation, if you live in, if you live in Chattanooga, if you live in Denver, Salt Lake City, basically anything on the West Coast really, and in Appalachia, you should be good with this machine. Even if you live relatively high altitude, not elevation. Altivation? That's not a word. Even if you are in that situation, this machine still should work properly without any significant decrease in features or performance. At least that's what I've gathered. Now again, I live in a very flat area, which is my preference. Everyone loves mountains, but I don't personally. The idea of having my house on a slope, it just doesn't appeal to me at all. Just, But anyways, so So far, I am impressed with this. Although I guess I shouldn't say impressed because I did expect it to do well. So, you know, it's what I expected. But what I expected was still a good machine, and that's what I got. So far I'm happy with this. This rambling's a little bit excessive, but you get the idea. It's a lot more natural. So, and like I said, super quick, I will go ahead and turn off these lights, and we are going to use this machine in the dark. I've got to find the remote to turn off the TV. I don't know where that is. Give me one sec. Alright, now we turn off the TV. Boom! Pitch darkness. So, you probably can't see anything until autofocus, which is not going to work while it's dark, until now. That's all you're going to get. I'll probably do a separate video of vacuuming this room with this tempo. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. Until Tech Studio signing out. See you guys in the next video, and I hope you all have a good one. Peace.